Welcome to lecture number 6. We are going towards the end of the course, um, completing possibilities of description, understanding, education to landscape. Remember, this is also education to use the landscape, but primarily is education to describe, to understand the values, to be aware of the values of landscape as a base for its protection and to become protagonist of strategies. So the school is the first stage where citizens should um, work, be educated to be protagonist of the future of their places. Following lecture number 5, which you remember was dealing with materials and climate, and so earth, stone, and timber, we can have other characteristic of the landscape. This is from a research of a very um, um, important colleague, Professor William Chapman from University of Hawaii, who has helped to describe the qualities of landscape. He says landscapes contain tangible and intangible qualities which represent different historic periods. And he suggested 13 characteristics to form a basis for analysis of landscape. Let's follow these 13 elements and let's try to then play with these elements. They are very complementary to many things that we have said. Still, geography, geology, but also history. In this case, we deal with the character number 1 is spatial organization, which, as you can see from this aerial view, is the how the elements of landscape are arranged to create ground, vertical planes, overhead planes, and to shape spaces where then the use of landscape can be provided with agriculture, with also with also installing a village and with life. So this is a one basic element. Then there is the land use, the organization, the form, the use of landscape provides shape, form that is really easy to recognize. So we see that the use of landscape provides, in this case, these rows, these lines with plants that can shape the landscape in a very evident way. Then also the cultural traditions are very important. Cultural traditions which are very connected to the land use uh, um, with patterns of division, building forms, use of materials as in lecture number 5. And we see population wearing traditional dresses, which are which provide colors, and festivals. Intangible elements are also very important. They are part of a tradition which can define the landscape. Then cluster arrangement means the organization in villages, in towns, in farms, organization of buildings and structures into the landscape. And here we see a stone village and a well, which is a very important element for the life of the place because it provides water. And this element, this area which is shown in the picture is a square, is a place where the local community gathers. And then there is circulation, and we see a map, which is another tool of that is important for landscape. Maps provide the description, the scientific description of the elements that provide the connection between elements of the landscape. And so here we see lines, we recognize rivers, mountains, and these are technical plans that can help to design, to control, and to shape the spaces and features of a place. And topography is the result of this. It's also a different tool, a different element to describe, to control, to shape, to transform, to protect a landscape. And this is a three-dimensional configuration that shows us the features and orientation of the territory and so of the landscape. Or vegetation is all the elements, green elements that are indigenous or introduced. They can be trees, shrubs, vines, ground covers, any herbaceous material that gives a shape, gives a character, a recognized character of our landscape. And then again, buildings and structures, three-dimensional construction system like houses, barns, garage, stables, bridges, memorials. They are another element to be considered to characterize a landscape. And then again, a map, which is describing the control. You see, this is a map, existing conditions of a landscape, which is described with according to views and vistas, so which means um, features, element that allow to create a range of vision that can be natural, design, or controlled. So technical maps, technical tools to help the shape of a landscape. And according to technical elements, also constructing water features. Water is, as we already said, is a very important element of landscape, is a very important element for farms, for villages, for towns, but water can be controlled and utilized for utilitarian function or also for aesthetic function. And we see here a dam, a sort of dam of element that is important for a factory, which can be also a mill. And this provides specific shapes of a landscape, which can be important to repair, protect, and also renew for our current use. All these elements you should discuss with your teacher. All these elements are again today sustainable. Going back to this element, to this collection, to this list of elements is extremely important for our education to landscape. Then we have a different element. We discuss technical questions. Here we have natural systems and features, very evident in this landscape, in this mountain landscape. And then we go to small scale features. So in a small road, in a small lane, in a town, we have details that deal with stone, brick, elements, so details that provide us the use also of this urban landscape, suggesting the path, the function, but also becoming aesthetic and typical of each area. The last characteristic is archaeological sites. So sites containing surface and subsurface remnants, which are related to historic, prehistoric land use, they are very important also to make a cultural landscape very relevant for tourism, very relevant to protect, to be able to keep the memory of a place which has a very, very old and long origin. So 13 elements, 13 characteristics that you should review with this lecture and try to understand and look, observe, and try to find in the landscape around you. So to go, I suggest you to go to see archaeological sites or see or look better to ancient villages, how the elements of this village can be relevant for your understanding of landscape. Thank you for your attention.